decluttering your money in 5 weeks. And this is a challenge, but possible. But I realize that it's not going to be an instant fix for most of us because it took me a really long time to declutter my money. And this topic has been inspired by the fact that I'm spring cleaning and decluttering a lot of my personal possessions now because I have a lot of stuff and I wear like 5 things, as you can tell. I wear the same things over and over again, and I have about 5 to 10 of each specific item. Like I have either 5 or 10 of these, I can't remember, and then I have 5 or 10 of the other round neck top, and then I have like 5 or 10 of the other high neck top, and I just wear those on repeat. So I don't know why I have so much stuff. And that type of experience can also apply to a lot of us in our money lives. Like, why are our money lives kind of all over the place? And we're sort of good in some areas and weak in other areas, but kind of avoid them and then sort of feel a little bit insecure. Even if it's more of on a subconscious level where we're like, oh, I'll just avoid that. But I don't feel really bad about it. I just, in my mind, think, oh, I am not great at that area. So I'm just going to kind of let it go and focus on the areas that I am good at. But if somebody asked you, are you confident in these 5 areas: money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy? Do you have them all covered? And are you comfortable and confident with your current status in all these areas? Most people would say maybe 1 or 2 areas they are not as confident in or just haven't really paid much attention to. Like, even when I know very successful people who have got a lot of these areas covered, sometimes the will area is like neglected and they're like, oh, I just haven't had time. It's like, you haven't made time because some part of you is avoiding doing a will. So my friend, I was like, lady, you have a kid, you have to go and get a will. And she's like, yes, I need to go and get a will. And the fact is that we think this stuff is going to take ages, and it doesn't have to. So that's why this 5 pillar framework that I've created is able to help you declutter your money in 5 weeks, but it's not magic. Okay, that's going to be like the roughest 5 weeks of your life, apart from when you did that like 5 weeks of keto or something like that. Okay, I'm exaggerating. It's not going to be super, super rough. But if you have a lot of emotions tied to money, then it is going to be facing those emotions and addressing your internal stuff that is actually decluttering money. Because money doesn't have any emotion attached to it. Like relationships, anything in our lives, we attach an emotion to something, and then the emotion results in how we feel about it. And we can detach those emotions from those things, but our thoughts are going to lead our emotions to associate with that. So one of the first things that we're going to need to do is recognize that we do not have to listen to our thoughts. Our thoughts are a result of beliefs that we've accumulated over time or things that we keep saying to ourselves. So I've written a blog post about this on the website, www.moneymind.global. You just click on blog and you can see some blog posts and past videos about areas that we may neglect or not realize that we are making mistakes that just make our lives like harder. So while this is all about money, my angle on money and money sort of coaching style guidance from my own personal experience, not advice, is we want to feel free of stress about money. Everybody wants to feel freedom to just know that their money is working for them and get on with what they really enjoy in their life, not have to worry about money. And a lot of us, because we just want to get on with the stuff of life, we just neglect the money part without realizing that it's actually really easy to clean up and make sure that it is in good working order. Now, the reason why this may be in shambles is very and can be very, very complicated. And there will be different situations for everybody. So this 5-pillar framework and this 5-week decluttering may not work for everybody, but it will at least give insight for anyone who tries it into where their status is and whether there are areas that they might be missing out on. So, for example, if you have a massive amount of student loan debt, it may not be the right area for you, but it may help to be able to look at the mindset work and look at the debt side of it when we talk about savings and budgeting, and remember to tell ourselves that debt doesn't mean anything about us. So we will approach this in the 5-pillar course where we say, look, the debt doesn't mean anything about you. You just have to consider it as it is, as a tool to get you whatever it is that you wanted to get from having that debt. And if you are using debt as an emotional crutch, then you were doing the best you could at that time. You don't need to beat yourself up about having debt. You don't need to beat yourself up about having made past decisions. All you need to do is accept that you did your best at that time. And now we're going to strategize how to move forward in a way that we want. So, the emotions that we lay on ourselves about money are going to be the things that hold us back from making changes around our money, which is why a lot of people start out money coaching and go into life coaching, because a lot of that baggage we carry on ourselves and on our own shoulders. And I combine both, but my focus is the money side because of the fact that it's really quite easy to clean up and can show us other areas that we might want to tidy in our own lives separately. So, this decluttering your money in 5 weeks plan is available for anybody. And here are the processes that we can go through to get started on this. Now, please remember, this is very general as a reference. It's not going to work for everybody, and it's not advice. Just try it out if you suspect this might be of interest. Okay, the first step is to, okay, I forgot what the first step is. Crap. Anyway, so the first step is to look at the 5-pillar framework checklist. Well, obviously, that's the first step. You know, I really can't think when I have hay fever. It's really crazy. It's a very bizarre thing that I've never experienced before, because I only recently started getting hay fever. I'm like, wait, what? So the first step is to use our 5-pillar checklist to just ask yourself within 1 minute where you're at. So you can do that right now with me while you're watching this video. So 5-pillar framework, money mindsets. How are your money mindsets? Are you comfortable and confident with your money mindsets and the results that they are getting you in your life? Yes or no? It's an easy, like, yes or no, right? It's, if you go into kind of like, maybe, sort of, a little bit, it's either yes, no, or maybe, or sort of, or a little bit, but just one word, okay? Money mindsets. Are you good with where you're at with your money mindsets and the results they're bringing you? Yes, no, sort of. Are you good with the results of your savings habits and comfortable and confident with that in your life right now? Savings, is it good for you? Yes, no, sort of. Budgeting. Do you expense track? Do you know what budget you use? Do you use any budget at all? Do you need to? Or do you just kind of spend and kind of avoid or ignore this area? Are you good and happy, comfortable and confident with the results of your budgeting or expense tracking in your life? And yes, no, maybe. That's the answer. Investing. Comfortable and confident with investing in your life? You avoid it a little bit? Are you a little bit nervous? Do you save a lot but not really invest? Do you invest haphazardly but not have savings? Are you comfortable and confident with where you're at? Investing. Yes, no, sort of. Wills and legacy. This should just be a yes, guys, okay? So wills and legacy. Do you have your will done? If you're over 18, you need to have your will done. It's really just that simple. Otherwise, your family gets stuck in this horrible probate process, having to prove that they're your family and that you want them to do stuff on your behalf. And the government will be like, well, if they wanted you to do stuff on their behalf, they would have left a will. Your family's like, yeah, well, I don't know why they didn't leave a will. And it's like, oh, because I just, and then there's you being like, oh, I'm sorry, guys, I totally just didn't leave a will because I didn't bother. I mean, what? That's awful. So bad. So anyways, because a will takes like an hour to do at a lawyer. It's like really, it's the fastest part you can get done of this entire thing. So it's kind of embarrassing to not have a will, really. given how little time it takes. You need your executor, your beneficiaries, go to a lawyer. It takes an hour. That's it, like, and then your life is like that area sorted in your life. It can be complicated if you have a lot more complications in your life, but it's still, you can do it within a week. I mean, like, oh, embarrassment. How embarrassment. Wills and legacy. You good in this area? Yes. No. Sort of would mean I gotta get my will done, or it's in processing. But yeah, you want that to be a yes, okay? So money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills and legacy. You good in these areas? That is the quick 1 minute checklist that you use first and say, am I good in these areas? And even if you are in process of these areas, like I am constantly working on my money mindsets, I'm constantly working on my budgeting pillar too, because of the fact that I am not naturally inclined that way. I'm a spender, I love investing, but my budgeting, I need to make an effort to expense track every day. And I do that with an app called I Expense It. I started out on like a little notepad because I was like, I want to do writing because I like writing stuff on paper. And so I started out writing on paper, writing the day's tally, just expense tracking, then making a note of the total of the day's spend at the bottom, and then each day tallying the running total. And then that's how I started. And then I moved to I Expense It because I just started to get so busy. I couldn't do this sort of like cute little expense tracking on my paper anymore. I needed to have the ability to shift stuff around. So we could be in processing in these areas and not have them totally sorted out yet, but know that we are comfortable and confident with what we are doing in those areas. So we may be working on our money mindsets. We may be cleaning up our savings. We may be improving our budgeting. We may be starting to explore educating ourselves in investing. We may have called that lawyer to make that, that will update or change with any life event, or just get it done. So all we need to do is check this 5 pillar checklist, ask if we're okay with those pillars, and then the pillars that we are not, then we can go to the website and try the free samplers, asking 3 questions about each pillar area. And the free samplers are only 10 minutes. They'll give you a little bit of a snapshot insight into where you're at in that pillar. Like if you are asked in, say, the savings pillar, right? This month we're launching the savings pillar. So say you have the savings pillar and you say, oh gosh, my savings is really shaky. I'm going to go try the savings free sampler to see, just any areas that I maybe didn't know about or could benefit from. And that 10-minute free sampler will ask you 3 questions. We have another broadcast. You can scroll back through and see the 3 questions that are asked in the savings sampler. But they'll ask you these 3 questions. And if you answer all 3 questions, like, oh, actually, yeah, I knew that and I have that sorted out, then maybe you actually are okay in the savings area, but you just didn't realize it because you thought it was way more complicated. Alternatively, you might not be able to answer any of the 3 questions or answer like 1 or 2 of them and be like, oh, I still feel really shaky in this area. If you do the free samplers, the 10-minute free samplers, and then decide, okay, I need a little bit more like sort of guidance or coaching on just areas that I might not know, then you can opt into trying the full pillars. And those full pillars are 1 hour of essentially coaching style, like financial coaching style sharing of my personal journey as I constructed this 5 pillar framework and used it in my life. These full pillars share the things that I didn't realize that I wish I had known earlier, and the things that make it so much easier to feel like you have this area covered. So in investing or in savings or in budgeting, there are so many things that I felt so overwhelmed about. And so I created this simple 5 pillar framework just to say, oh, well, I could just plug and play this and then use this information to just say, oh, okay, I've got this covered. It's actually not that complicated to have these areas all covered. So what we recommend is when you do any one of these full pillars, apply it for 1 week. So say you were in a situation where you said, okay, I've been kind of avoiding my finances, and I feel like I just want to have a quick tidy for like the best price that's available, right? It's like 188 US dollars for all 5 pillars, which is just a bit crazy considering that financial coaching for 1 hour is 100 to 600 US dollars. So it's really great value because our mission is to help people feel more empowered about their own confidence and comfort levels in their own money. So we're in this for the end goal of your confidence, right? So asking about any of these pillars and saying, okay, I bought the 5 pillar bundle for a quick cleanup. What I'm going to do is I'm going to really quickly apply each pillar in my life for 1 week, but intensively apply it. So if you want to declutter your money in 5 weeks, this is a really plug and play way to start doing that. So money mindsets, apply for 1 week. Watch your thoughts, see what you're thinking, see if there's any untangling of money beliefs that you need to do. See if you want to watch Dave Ramsey student loan videos. See if you want to listen to Natalie Bacon about how her student loan doesn't mean anything about us. See if you want to declutter any beliefs about money being the root of all evil or money not growing on trees. You can follow Dave Ramsey on YouTube to hear some of the really helpful mindset shifts around any of those limiting beliefs. And that really helped me personally. Hi, Stevie Wonder. So you can check your money mindsets in a week. Then you would move on to the full savings pillar where you would see about what your savings amounts are. You would make sure that you tidy them, ensuring you have 3 to 6 months emergency funds saved, ensuring that you aim for 10 to 20%. We actually mentioned 25% savings and why and how depreciation works in a really friendly, simple way. So you can clean up this pillar in a week and just make sure that you start taking the steps to have that sorted in your life. So also probably will ask what your saver and spender type is, right? Your money personality and how you can work with that in order to be yourself and find a style that works for you in terms of your savings. Likewise, with the budgeting, we go through a few budgeting types, including my 25% budget, which you can just use really loosely as a framework to check 25% spending, 25% saving, and 50% or 2 blocks of 25% on necessities. And that framework can be used and then modularly moved around. If you are maybe a saver and you're not spending very much on necessities, maybe you could have 25% saving, 25% investing, and then 25% spending, 25% living necessities. But it's not a very, very static framework. It's just kind of ballpark to aim for. So you'd be saving and investing roughly 50%, and then spending and necessities roughly 50%. So that's how that 25% guideline in budgeting would work. But we cover some other budget styles here and also budgets that would fit different personality types. So you would apply that for 1 week. Now, how the budgeting pillar would apply for 1 week for this declutter your money in 5 weeks would be that you would just start expense tracking if you've never done this before and you're avoiding budgeting. So you'd expense track for 1 week and tally each day's total, then tally the running total, and just keep an eye on whether you're happy about where you're spending your money. That's about it. Oh, thanks. I know I love the rings too. Thanks. This area, you're not going to get instant results in budgeting because you need to find your style, but it will help you to be able to accept maybe one of the 3 different budgeting styles could be in future something to consider. Like if you are a spender and you don't want to have the restrictions of a budget, maybe you want to try the no budget budget where you just allocate first necessities, then savings, spend the rest. That's a type of budget. That might be the right budget for you. But if you are maybe spending a bit too much and have some debt, you could try the 30-20-50 budget, which was created by Elizabeth Warren, a bankruptcy expert. And she created this so that it would be the minimum amount that you need to have so that you don't slip into bankruptcy. And that's 50% on necessities, 30% on saving or spending, and 20% on saving or spending. So this would be a minimum of 20% going to savings. And my 25% budget is similar to that, but has a longer term use because you can shift it around to increase your investing and savings amount or your living necessities amount as you grow your wealth. So my 25% budget is quite similar to the 30-50-20 budget, but it can be modular. So you could work towards then as you stabilize growing your wealth and investing. So that's why that's that. And then there's the zero sum budget in the budgeting section, which is very extreme and tracks every dollar. At the start of the month, you have your allocation of money and where it goes, and then every dollar goes to where it's supposed to go. Now, as a spender, I love the idea of this and tried it and failed so hard and had such bad, like, opposing reactions to it. So I would actually end up kicking and having like, you know, like in my mind, my emotional mind, I wasn't actually kicking, but like in my emotional mind, I'd be like a horse having a tantrum, trying to fit into this budget and then going on a spending binge because the restriction was too much for me to mentally handle. So it's not for everyone. And I was trying to force myself to be something that I wasn't. And that's never going to work, right? It's just not. I can try and buy like tiny trousers and fit into tiny trousers. I need to buy my size, man. I need to accept my trouser size and wear my trouser size. So with the budget, I realized, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to expense track. And after I expense track for a few months, I will be able to have the habit that is in place that will help me find the right budget for me. So that's what you would aim to do and aim to look for in that 1 week of budget, the budgeting pillar. You'd want to just expense track for a week. And if you're already expense tracking, you're already doing some kind of budgeting, then you might want to just see whether you want to update, upgrade your budget and see where you're at. So these 5 pillars again: money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills and legacy. We would use these 5 pillars for 1 week to really gain insight into our money snapshot right now. And we would take this to declutter our money in 5 weeks. Now, obviously, like with a spring clean, if you do Marie Kondo, you'll be able to do it. But then what will happen is you'll start to kind of revert back to your original ways. And that is further cleanup to continue doing. Like, I always have to clean up my money mindsets, grow them in terms of business and abundance. I also have to really keep on top of exerting effort in the budgeting area, because this area, expense tracking, doesn't come naturally to me. And so I keep working at it, right? It's easier for me to invest. It's easier for me to just have savings allocated. My wills and legacy have been done for ages. So for me, knowing that my slightly less strength area pillars is really helpful, because then I can focus on the areas I'm good at, know that I'm good at them, and also give extra love and attention to the areas that I need to maintain a little more strongly, right? So all we want to do is know ourselves, be self-aware, and be able to use this 5-pillar framework to declutter our money by applying each pillar for 1 week, okay? So we've got money mindsets. Can we apply that and intensely watch our thoughts for 1 week and clean them up? You can try the free sampler if you want to have a little bit more insight into any of these pillars and what they will offer. So then the free samplers are 10 minutes, right? So you can do that while having a coffee. So the money mindsets, you can jump on over to the website, moneymind.global, and have a look at all the free samplers there. And also you can click on the paid pillars for a preview of what's in them as well. So these free samplers, 10 minutes, money mindsets, savings. Are you good with your savings? How much should you be saving? Do you have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund saved? Why do you need it? Why is it important? With your budgeting, like, start expense tracking. What kind of budget might suit you? Just track your expenses, be really kind and gentle, and change your mind about budgeting being hard. Writing down numbers every single day, if we detach emotion around it and thinking that we're going to have to fit into some crazy budget, it can be easier to just write down the numbers. That's it. The 4th pillar is investing. Now, this pillar itself, we go into some pre-investing concepts. No advice, none of this is advice, just based on my own journey with things that I wish that I'd known and then did know and then do apply in using this pillar, 5 pillar framework still in my own personal life, for my own money life and my own personal finances, because I realized after I created it and got good results from just having this simple framework, my confidence boosted because I knew I had my foundations covered. I could keep going in the areas that I was really strong, and I could tidy the areas that I was less strong. And it made it so simple. My full financial life is like decluttered as a result of having these foundational areas tidied. And anyone can put this 5 pillar framework into place. You can do it for free now in 1 minute. Just ask whether you're comfortable and confident in each of these areas of money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. I mean, it's not even 1 minute. It's like 30 seconds. You can check your financial foundation stability by asking whether you're comfortable and confident in how you are progressing and what you are doing in each of these areas. It's so simple. It's so cool, right? Because I needed something that was so simple to just be able to use as a checklist. I was like, okay, I'm just going to use this. Of all the like researching for years and asking finance industry people and blah, 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 blah. And so I created this because I realized these were the most basic foundational stability points that if we've got these sorted, we can build on top of them and then create wealth, create financial stability, create a future of retirement that we're happy with without having to make all that much effort. I was like, wow, this is great. I should share this with people. And here I am. So, money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing. The investing pillar, you can try the free sampler to have a quick look at what we offer in the investing pillar, but it is very much pre-investing concepts that you might want to know about, like compound interest, the rule of 72, which is only like a rough reference guideline, the category for to remember like the different asset classes that you might invest in, which are cash, assets, oh, cash, assets, she's Raven, cash, alternatives, bonds, and stocks. If you're just getting a normal like model portfolio, which we'll talk about in the investing pillar, then it will probably be in like those allocations, really. And you'll want to know your risk profiling questionnaire, which we'll cover in the investing pillar. How to get it, you just go to your bank and ask them to do your risk profiling questionnaire for free, and why it's important, how you can use it to gain more insight into other areas of your life, in terms of your money life, and just, how to make the investing part easy to be stable in, basically. And then you can build on top of that if you like. But it's just pretty much just pre-investing concepts you might want to know about. Because, I mean, for me, the biggest thing that I discovered was the compound interest. And that was a big eye opener because I didn't grow up like super money talking, wealthy family that was like, oh, we talk about all of our investment portfolios and blah at the table and strategies and stuff. So I didn't grow up like that. I grew up athletic with like a military dad and a very, very talented, creative mom. And so I didn't have any of these conversations and I had to create everything from scratch, which is why I created this 5 pillar framework for myself just to use and be able to have that basic foundation. But I realized that a lot of people that do grow up in multitudes of different types of backgrounds and families also don't have these types of conversations. And so they can use these 5 pillar frameworks too, right? Anyone can use it. No matter how like your family situation was, you can just use it as a checklist to just ask if you're happy where you are now. That's it. So the investing pillar is pre-investing concepts we might want to know about. You can jump over to the free sampler and see whether that has anything of interest for you. You'll be asked 3 questions in the 10-minute free sampler, and if you can answer all of them, then you're sweet. I mean, that's fine. Awesome. That's where we want you to be. We want everybody to be at being able to answer all of these. Yes, I know that. I knew this already. I know what life cycle planning is. I know where my investing strengths are. Like I know all this about myself. It's pretty much just self-awareness, but in our money personality. So if you can't already, if you can't already do that and check off that investing pillar, then try the free sampler or just have some more, like, take some more steps educating yourself in this area, in the investing area, right? Because you don't want to start like taking crazy action because you feel insecure about investing or not investing. You just want to start educating yourself in areas that you are curious about or might be curious about, because if you are uncomfortable in an area that you don't know about, your brain is going to consider it like dinosaur chasing you, scary danger. Okay, that's just neurologically how we work and how we're wired, and why I'm so interested in psychology, neuropsychology, decision making, and the psychology of everything to do with how our brain tries to keep us safe and how we can make it easier to get results. So I tie a lot of those neuropsychology hacks into the course on how to make things easier to apply and get results by bypassing some of our like sort of survival circuits of our brain. So in the investing pillar, a lot of people may feel nervous about taking steps into investing, and it's because they don't know what that's going to look like. So there's no path that they can see ahead. The easiest way to hack this for our mind is to not take any action, just start educating yourself in like a really deluging kind of way. So you could read a blog a day on an area that you are interested in or curious about. It's really helpful if you're curious about an area, because that shows some interest, but you're still tentative, kind of like a kid who's not ready to take the step into the pool. But once it knows that it's safe and it can manage, then it has no problem. And then it just swims all day. So the change is really fast, but that moment of hesitation, doubt, and like danger brain is the part that we want to kind of hack, skipping over, so that we can get ourselves to do things that are beneficial and get the results we want without having to vacillate about the fear in the way. So, investing, just educate ourselves. We can do this in any number of ways. We can try the investing free sampler. We can try the 1 hour investing pillar that's coming out in a month or two. Yay! And you can sign up for that now. You can buy the investing pillar now, but it's just pre-investing concepts. If you're interested in investing in like bigger areas, like say NFTs or crypto or any of these types of like business investment or hedge fund investing or angel investing, or just even just like going into ETFs and normal stock investing and things like that, right? Then you can easily follow people on Instagram and just learn. Just curate your Instagram. So I've done this with my Instagram. It's one of the easiest hacks for social learning that you can hack your brain with. So what I did was my Instagram, I muted the main page of like, sorry everyone, but all my friends, essentially. I left their stories on so I could see their update stories, but I muted the main page and I started following a whole bunch of finance and business accounts. So my feed now shows, when I go on Instagram, almost entirely finance and business accounts and some like cute animal accounts of, animals being friends and stuff like that I like. So that hack is a very easy way to start familiarizing your brain with stuff in a situation that is safe and secure. So you don't, feel in danger when you go on your Instagram. You're just there relaxing. You're open to whatever's being sent into your brain. And right now, what are you being sent? Probably a bunch of comparison stuff of how everyone's life is Instagram great. But you could be sending yourself all of this information about areas that you are interested in. And it's really important to follow accounts that are educative, not selling. So if you wanted to just jump right into following a bunch of really awesome finance education accounts, you can go to moneymind.global. So on Instagram at moneymind.global, look at who I'm following. Almost all of those people on moneymind.global, because it's a new account, almost all of those people are finance industry or finance hacking education people. So there'll be people who talk about student loans. There'll be people who talk about buying a house in America. There'll be people who talk about things they didn't know about, getting a raise, or why tax advantages don't work if you take a a raise, but only a certain amount. Just go and find the people who will be the most relevant to what you're interested in and what you're experiencing in your life. The investing pillar, educating ourselves in stuff around this area, will make us feel more confident to take steps towards investing how we want to invest. And that's where we want to be at. Essentially, Money Mind was created as a confidence boosting course. And it's in financial literacy, but it's created to help us feel more confident. Because I realized that if you feel confident, you can do anything with your finances. You will feel like, even if you're making like appalling decisions, you'll be cool with that. You're like, yeah, I want to make that appalling decision. Like, say, I want to go bungee jumping, right? And that's not an appalling decision. I'm sorry, but it is something that is dangerous and risky. And you're like, oh my God. But if you wanted to make a risky and dangerous decision that had a fine chance of being safe, but a high risk of death, then you'd still be like, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay to go like bungee jumping or parasailing or any of these dangerous things. I'm okay to take on the risk. And what we want with our financial life is to feel confident to take on risk, even if we're going to lose a bit of money. I mean, if you're going to bungee jump, you could lose your life. And yet, a lot of us who would be okay with bungee jumping are like, oh no, I'm a bit scared to invest, right? It's like, oh, okay, that's very like interesting to note, because it'd been okay to take the risk to possibly lose our life, but to lose our money, we'll still have a lot of fear. And so if we feel comfortable making the decisions, we will be okay with whatever happens as a result. We might still regret it, but we'll still know that we had the confidence to make that decision for the reasons we made them, and we can make a different decision in future. So it's like we got our own backs if we are confident about something. So if I make a mistake, well, make a mistake, I don't really consider investment mistakes because I like the way that I have made those choices. And so I only ever consider them like learning decisions. So investing in something that goes horribly wrong, I consider it a learning experience. And then sometimes that will work out to have more upside in a peripheral way that was unexpected. So I'm always looking out for the benefits of something rather than focusing on the fear of the risk to prove myself right, that, oh gosh, I took a risk and this has gone horribly wrong. I was right. Your brain will believe what you tell it to believe. So if you look for mistakes and say, oh, that was dangerous, I shouldn't have done that, then your brain will think, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. Like, it will just agree with you. So if you think, oh wow, that was not ideal, I've learned a lot from that, I'll do it different in future, your brain will say, yeah, you should probably do it different in future. It's like this really sycophantic sort of friend or like servant person who's like, well, I will agree with whatever you say, whatever it is. Like, you can create whatever you want to believe. So with the 5 pillars and decluttering your money in 5 weeks, you check your 5 pillars, you apply each pillar for 1 week. So money mindsets, you check your thoughts, you make sure you're decluttering those thoughts. You'd be like, okay, what am I thinking? How can I think differently? How can I educate myself otherwise than what I'm currently thinking? Because if the results of my money mindsets are making me feel lack about money or resentful or like money doesn't grow on trees or money is the root of all evil, so I shouldn't have money, that's just a mindset that needs to be cleaned up. And we can follow Dave Ramsey for some of that cleanup. We can follow Natalie Bacon if we like, free podcasts. Just clean up your money mindsets for 1 week and see how you go. This will be an ongoing journey, but it's worth starting if you have never started in this area before. So a savings pillar. Check your savings, where you're at, how much to save, 3 to 6 month emergency fund, do you have it? Try the free pillars to do a little quick checklist of what you need and where you're at to have financial stability. For the budgeting pillar, just start expense tracking for a week, really, and then see if it leads you in a direction that will be helpful to decide what kind of budget might work for your money personality. So the budgeting pillar, I know, can have a lot of emotions. This pillar really helps to coach through addressing emotions, letting go of self-judgment, being more comfortable with just taking the next steps without needing to associate everything we've associated budgeting with before in the past, like a new start, like just letting go. So, the investing pillar, we want to educate ourselves to move forward in investing, but not take steps in investing yet. For that 1 week, we just want to start following Instagrams that talk about areas in investing we're interested in. We might want to do the free sampler, and then the paid pillar is coming out in a month or so. You can sign up for it now, pre-sale, and then you can also see the topics if you go to moneymind.global, the website, and go down to the courses, all courses. You can see the paid pillars, and if you click on them, it actually takes you to a page that will show you what's in each of the pillars. So you can actually have a look at what you'll be getting and watch the intro in the beginning just to see if it's a fit for you. If it's not a fit for you, then don't do this course, okay? Because it will be just a waste of your time and money. You need to find the right fit for you in terms of guiding you through where you want to move forward in. Okay, so you want to find a great like fitness person that you like, that you want to work with. You want to find people that you want to work with, and you want to move forward with comfort, because your brain will otherwise really start to resist and have this I don't know what this was actually. This is actually fighting vacillation. This is your brain vacillating. So if you're trying to force your brain to do stuff, it will vacillate. It will go back to how it was before, because it didn't want to be doing it, man. Like if you try a diet for 3 months, you force your brain to do the diet, you know, in like 5-6 months, you're going to be eating the same stuff you were before or slightly different, but it's not going to stick. If you find ways to move forward with people, coaches, and in ways that make you feel comfortable, like, oh, this is easy, this is great, then you're gonna want to move forward, and it's gonna feel easy, and it should feel easy. So this will be helping us like clear the easy path to move forward, and then it's up to us to declutter our own emotions. So we can declutter our money stuff, but it's up to us to also declutter our emotions and be able to say, I'm going to detach my emotions and leave them there, like on the baby chair where they're going to be stomping and having a tantrum. I don't have to act my emotions. I don't have to embody my emotions. I can be angry and say, okay, I think I am angry. I feel I am angry. I'm going to behave reasonably while feeling anger. And we can do this with our money too. I'm going to expense track every day while feeling scared about budgeting. And as I keep expense tracking every day, my brain will start to develop new neural pathways. These are neural pathways, apparently, new neural pathways saying this is safer than I thought. Oh, I don't need to feel as scared. Now you'll still have that emotion pulling you the other way, saying you need to feel scared. But if you're developing just expense tracking without judgment, without emotional engagement, and say, no, if I want to expense track, I'm just going to expense track. It doesn't need to mean anything, just expense tracking. Then you can start to develop neural pathways that are beneficial to you, that will start eventually moving over to those neural pathways, like a path in the wood. Once you start growing that path, it becomes wider. And if you leave this path for long enough, it will eventually overgrow. It will still be there and you can still jump into it if you like slip. But over time, you can start to develop neural pathways entirely that are beneficial and helpful. And I know this because I have cleaned up so much of my crazy, messy, cluttered mind. Like imagine it was like my brain was like the Hunger Games, okay? It was just a disaster. It was like that set of the forest in the Hunger Games. It was just awful. It was just awful. I'm not going to lie, man. It was just awful. And it was such a mess. And I've cleaned it up so much that some of the neural pathways that I used to have, I've actually just clean forgotten about now. So that is so amazing to me because I would have never thought that I could step away from like depression and money judgment and feeling overwhelmed and self-worth and self-esteem and like all this stuff. I would have hoped and dreamed and like wished, but I would have never actually thought, wow, I'm actually living now in a way that I don't have any of those thoughts that were really dragging me down anymore. And that came from doing a lot of its cleanup because I actually keep going on the money mindsets and on the budgeting areas that I'm weaker in. So I actually help support myself where I'm weaker. Now, the biggest hack for me, just before we jump onto the wills and legacy pillar, the biggest hack for me with the money mindsets was, and you can see there's a blog post on this on the blog. If you have money regret or if you have money thought, it's often a type of rumination. You'll play a thought over in your head, and this is actually a documented thing that can cause stress, worry, health issues, all kinds of stuff. Sorry guys, but women are actually a lot more prone to it in terms of studies. And guys can also be very prone to this as well. It's just that it can be very, very common with women. And we think we're just being thorough, playing over a thought over in our head. But the thoughts can start to get a bit skewed, and they can start to just be there worrying us for no reason, with no benefit. And we can start to play them over, and it becomes a kind of comfort. Now, we can do this any time of day. Someone could say something. We could go to the coffee shop and say, oh, thank you. Never mind, and just feel awkward and then play it over in our head. That's ruminating. Worrying is also ruminating. So what I realized once I discovered that ruminating was a thing, I instantly said, okay, I'm going to doubt bucket this. It's a little imaginary garbage bin, and you take any thought that is not useful, helpful, or supportive. Is this thought useful, helpful, or supportive? If it's not, boink, straight in. And just watching for one day those thoughts as they come up. And you can use this for worries, doubts, or any thought that is a neural pathway that is not helpful, useful, or supportive. You can do this about money. You can do this about stress, anything. And once you get practiced in this, it can take a little while, but even within 2 weeks, my confidence went up. My overall life confidence boosted as a result of not doubting and undermining myself constantly. And as a result of my confidence going up, I was able to make better decisions for my family, my life, my money, every area, and feel more confident that the decisions I was making were the ones I wanted to make. So this isn't going to mean that I'm going to be like, oh, suddenly I want to be like super fit and healthy and da 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 da. I'm just going to be more confident about eating that bowl of pasta because I want to, and not because it's an emotional crutch, and not because I'm eating from some other kind of stress because I feel emotionally weighed down. So it's not a coping mechanism. It's just, I want to eat the pasta. And sometimes if it is a coping mechanism, I'm also okay to recognize that this is a coping mechanism. And right now, I'm going to allow myself the support of that coping mechanism because I haven't got another better coping mechanism in place. So for now, this is working for me. And if I want to change it and slowly adapt it to something that's more supportive, I can, but I don't have to. I can just accept myself as I am right now. And part of Money Mind, this 5-pillar framework, and the whole journey and concept of Money Mind is to help us feel more confident and empowered just so we can live how we want to live and feel good about how we are, who we are, what we are, and our choices. So if I don't want to hike or I don't want to go get drunk with a bunch of people, fine, that's okay. I don't need to feel bad about not hiking or not wanting to get drunk with a bunch of people or not liking someone or not being liked by someone. I don't need to feel bad about any of that. If we ruminate and carry this garbage in our heads, it can really make a whole difference to how we feel guilty or like we should socialize, or maybe I should like that person or they don't like me. It's complicated. Facebook status is complicated when we carry junk in our heads. We don't need to carry that junk in our heads anymore. We can declutter our minds. We can declutter our money in 5 weeks. Our minds will take longer, but we can start with the pillars: money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. These are all 10-minute free samplers you can check out on the website, www.moneymind.global. And the full pillars are rolling out over these months. So Money Mindsets is already live. Savings is already live. If you want to jump into this, you can actually just buy them, or you can buy the 5-pillar bundle and have them released over the next few months. So say if you were right now wanted to dive into the pillars, right? They're $49 US each, but the bundle saves $57 and it's $188. You could theoretically, if you wanted to like really make your life a whole different place in like half a year, given the timing right now. You could apply money mindsets for a month, savings for a month, invest budgeting for a month, investing for a month, and wills and legacy for a month. Wills and legacy is not going to take you a month, really. That's like 1 week or something. But for this, that will really like clean up your life. Okay, this framework will really, if you like hack your money mindsets and like obsess about it for a month and each of these areas for a month, your money life is going, in terms of the foundation, is going to be so like Marie Kondoed if you really attack these areas gently and supportively and say, I'm going to focus on this for 1 month. But the problem with doing it for 1 month is that we tend to procrastinate until the end of the month. So in 5 weeks, we could declutter our money, right? By just doing money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. And in the wills and legacy area, this you can do in 1 week and actually finish in 1 week. Like, it is so simple. This one, it covers why you need a will. And a lot of people don't know about probate, or the fact that your family is like left arguing that they have rights to be able to manage your stuff after you're gone. The government's like, oh, prove that you have rights to manage this person's stuff. And you're like, oh, well, I can't prove that because they didn't leave a will. And the government's like, well, they should have left a will. I was like, yeah, well, I don't know why they didn't leave a will. So government's like, well, you have to go through the legal process to prove it. Probate is from the Latin probare, or some derivative of the Latin probare, which means proof, prove it. So it's essentially the government saying, prove it. And you have to pay legal fees to go through the process of having to prove that you have the rights to be able to manage your loved one's stuff. It's crazy. If you are the loved one, you're up there, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Like, I didn't know. So wills and legacy, it takes an hour. Just go to your lawyer, have your executors listed, your beneficiaries listed. They write it on a piece of paper. You're done. You're sorted in like 1 hour. Just go do it. Do your will and legacy today. And the legacy is, you have a legacy box. You put it in your study. You put it in your drawer. You put it like somewhere, and you say, hey, people who are named in the will, that's where my file is with my will stuff. And they're like, okay, don't really care, but sure. If they need it, they know where it is. So that's it. It's like super simple. Even if you wanted to do like a more complex will, it's still possible to do within a week. It's really not very convoluted. If you have so many assets that you're like already like, like need trusts and other like dynasty trusts and stuff like that, then this 5-pillar framework may not be for you. You may be like a little bit further ahead if you're already that intense on the wills. But a lot of people don't have a wills. So checklist, money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. Are you comfortable and confident in all 5 areas? You can do this checklist right now. Ask yourself if you're comfortable and confident in those areas. Are you comfortable and confident in the way that you are handling or managing or moving forward in your money mindsets? Savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. Yes, no, sort of. If you are no or sort of, you might want to try the free samplers through 10 minutes over at moneymind.global, the website. And if you're still not sure about your answers to the questions in the free samplers, you may want to try the paid pillars, which are 1 hour each. And it's kind of coaching style guidance on things I wish I'd known when I was going through this journey, and things that make it so much easier to have these 5 bases covered. So you could apply each of these pillars, money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy, for 1 week. And within 5 weeks, you would arrive in a completely different money confidence location than when you started. That's it. That's the declutter your money in 5 weeks. I hope it's been helpful or useful to someone. We have blog posts over at the website under blog. We have free samplers over at www.moneymind.global. And those are 10 minutes. You can click on those. You can click on the full pillars to see what's in them and to see little previews of how they start and what they talk about, and see if it's right for you. Because what's right for you is going to be what you like or what you feel comfortable or confident with. And if you don't like this content or this topic or like the way I present, then find someone you do. go to our Instagram and look at who we follow and find someone that you really like learning from and learn from them. So we're here for anyone who wants our style, my style of presenting about my journey with this 5-pillar framework. And because we're a social enterprise, which means that we're kind of like a for-profit charity, but it means that we have a mission and a purpose. And our mission and purpose is your confidence. That's it. Your confidence in your financial literacy and money so that you can get on with your life without having to worry about this area. That's our mission. That's why I'm doing these talks and live broadcasts and why the courses are there and available for you. So that's why we're doing this. And every time you buy something or you take a step forward in this direction, it further supports the mission, because part of the obligation of having a social enterprise is over a certain amount, over 50% of all the money that we make has to go back to supporting financial literacy in the community and the cause. So even if you buy something and you take some of the steps, but not all of the steps, even just to buying the courses is going to support the cause and benefit people somehow, some way. So hi, Blender lovers. I'm just signing off. Thanks for joining. I'm Raven, founder of Financial Literacy Social Enterprise, Money Mind, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Happy Easter, everyone.